What's up, Epic family? And hello to my Fire family if you are watching as well. Welcome to Cook with Coach. Now, my name is Lavondalyn Watson-Sankitts. I am also called that Fire Coach. And as you may know, I run a very profitable and successful coaching company. I have been a coach to entrepreneurs of faith and to Christian women for over 17 years. Now, my office, the Fire Zone, is just 3 minutes up the street from my home. And so today I decided to come home for lunch. I thought maybe you would like to come along for the journey. Now, I usually have very long days and sometimes some pretty long nights. And so I like to make sure that I can have a quick meal on the table. Now, I have a background as a chef, but I don't always have time for elaborate meals. I don't always have time to, cook a lot of the things that I love to eat. And so I'm always looking for solutions, meal solutions that will allow me to get dinner on the table quickly. Well, it's not just dinner, it's also lunch. And so that is why I love Epicure. Epicure's meal solutions are fast and easy, and they do not sacrifice on quality or on taste. And so I'm a huge fan. Hopefully you're a huge fan as well. Today, we are going to make one of my Epicure meal solutions that I absolutely love. It is going to be fast, it is going to be easy, and as always, I'm going to remix it. So if at the end of this video, you like the recipe and you love what I prepared, you can scroll down and click the link that says order meal solutions, and you can make this meal at home for you and your family. Maybe like me, you're busy too, and you have long days and long nights, and you want a quick, easy, feel good, but also fast meal, right? If that's you, then watch me bring this recipe together quickly. So today we are making the crispy, crunchy lettuce wrap. That sounds amazing, doesn't it? And it also sounds light and lively. I like light and lively in the middle of my workday. I'm going to head back to the office for some coaching calls that I have this afternoon. So I want to make sure I don't have anything heavy, anything that's going to weigh me down, anything that has too many carbs in it, although I am a carb lover. Amen. But not today. So we're going to make these lettuce wraps. Now, these lettuce wraps call for a ground meat, something like ground beef or ground pork. You can even use ground chicken. But as you know, I am a vegetarian and I also eat seafood sometimes. So pescatarian, really. And so I'm going to remix this recipe by using shrimp. Now you're wondering, how are you going to make a ground meat recipe with shrimp? I'm going to show you a hack. That's one of the things that I love about doing these videos. I get to show you some chef tips that you could use in your own kitchen. Now, when you look at these meal solutions, on the very back, it's going to tell you the recipe, how to make it, everything that you need in your cabinet for it. Is going to tell you whether or not there are any allergens and exactly what is in this packet. Now, as I always say, with these Epicure packets, you don't have to worry. Sometimes you see packets and boxes and you think, I don't want that food because there are toxins in there, there are additives and preservatives, there are artificial coloring and flavorings in there. Not so with Epicure. These packets are clean, right? They have whole ingredients in them, no artificial anything. Remember, Epicure has that never ever list. That's a list of things that you will never ever find in Epicure meal solutions or products. So included in that are artificial flavorings and colorings, added MSG, hydrogenated oils, all of the bad things. Those things are never found in these products. So let's get started cooking. I'm going to do these lettuce wraps and it's going to be amazing. All right, first things first, as always, let's make sure our pan is waiting for us and not the other way around. So I'm going to put that on, say, a medium high. And the first thing that we're going to do, the recipe tells us that, I'm going to need some soy sauce, some sesame oil, some water, which I have here. This recipe calls for ground pork, but again, we're going to use shrimp. And it also says that I'm going to need a diced bell pepper. So I've got an orange pepper here. I'm just going to dice up half of it because I'm only doing half of the recipe. I'm going to dice up our orange pepper here, and I can't imagine peppers without onions, yes? And so I'm going to add just a little bit of onion, even though the recipe doesn't call for it. As I always tell you all, I love the sweetness that onions add to my recipes. And so I'm going to dice up this pepper really quickly. And then we're going to add some onion to this as well. Awesome. And the onion's going to give that sweetness that I love, that I miss when I don't add onions to my meals. And so we'll add these onions right quick. Drop that in our trusty trash bowl over here. And then what else does the recipe say? It says to add the pepper along with the ground pork and the seasoning in a bowl with some water. Here's my bowl. I'm going to add these peppers and onions to my bowl. And then I also need to add the shrimp. Now, of course, I don't want to cross-contaminate, so I'm going to switch out my boards here. I'm going to grab my trusty Epicure board here, and we're going to use this board for the shrimp. Now I have about, I say maybe under, a third of a pound of shrimp here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chop this up so that it resembles a ground meat. Now I know this is not customary, but I'm telling you, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So I'm going to chop this up. Instead of waiting to chop it after it's cooked, I'm going to go ahead and do it now so that it will actually mimic ground meat in the pan. And you can do this for anything. You can do this for shrimp burger. You can do this to, add anything, anywhere that you would add a ground meat like ground beef or ground pork or ground chicken. You can also add shrimp. And it's just a matter of, again, just cutting it up to fine minced pieces and then frying it up like you would a ground meat. Now, shrimp cooks fast, so you don't want to fry it as long as you would a ground meat, but you can definitely still get the same texture and even more flavor, I think. Okay, so the recipe doesn't tell me to season it up, but I agree with Emerald Lagasse. Like, you can't have no seasoning food, right? So I'm just gonna add a little salt and pepper to this. So let's add some salt and pepper. It feels like my pan here is getting hot. And we're gonna add just a tiny bit, not much, of salt and pepper. Always try and use a sea salt or a pink Himalayan salt, which is actually good for you. It's got, great minerals in there. There are probably over 80 trace minerals in pH salt. And so try to stay away from the table salt. That stuff is really salty and it has no extra flavor, no extra minerals in there for you. Okay, so that's seasoned up, and the recipe tells me to add my ground meat to the same bowl that I am adding my onions and peppers to. Perfect. Now let's get rid of this cutting board here, and we'll go ahead and start seasoning this up. So let's see what the back of the recipe says. It says, in a large bowl, combine seasoning with 1 pound of ground pork, 2 diced peppers, 1 tablespoon of water, and 1 teaspoon each of sesame oil and soy sauce. So I'm going to take my trusty scissors here, and we're going to add these seasonings to the bowl. Perfect. Now it also says a teaspoon, and we're going to use our Epicure spoon here. This is our 4-in-1 spoon. I love it. It has both a tablespoon and a teaspoon on one side, and then it's got a 1/2 teaspoon and a 1/4 teaspoon on the other side. So in one tool, you have almost all of your measuring spoons. So we're going to add a teaspoon, just like it says, of sesame oil. And we're also going to add a teaspoon of soy sauce. That's an excellent combination. Don't you love all of those Asian flavors? When they come together, they're so delicious. So it says those, and then it says a tablespoon, which we'll use the other side, of water. Perfect. So now we're just gonna mix this up. Ooh, I love the smell of soy. Don't you just love anything Asian? I love the smell of soy sauce. You can tell in the packet, there's some ginger in here. I smell it. I'm excited to have this for lunch, and it's going to be fast and easy so I can get back to work. Now, you might be in that space where, you don't have a lot of time for lunch, and maybe you don't have the opportunity to go home for lunch, but you can certainly prepare this ahead of time and assemble at your work or at your job, or if you're in business for yourself, assemble in between your meetings and your calls. Perfect. So that has come together nicely, and our pan should be hot. So I'm just going to walk over to the stove and then add a little oil to the pan and fry this up. I'll come back and chat with you while it's cooking. Perfect. The pan is hot. Always have your pan waiting for you and not you waiting for it. It saves you so much time in the kitchen. That's the sizzle you want. It is so important to cook in a hot pan, because if your pan is not hot enough, it will steam or boil instead of sauteing or frying. So make sure your pan is hot and ready for you. Oh man, that smells great. Okay. So we're gonna let that come together. Now, I already have some lettuce leaves here that I have washed and dried. Now, I know that your pack says it's already triple washed and it's clean, right? But I tend to not trust those things. I always wash my produce and clean it and dry it up myself. So I encourage you to do the same at home. So while that cooks up, I want to talk to you a little bit about these Epicure meal solutions, because these solutions are good and good for you. Like I said, we have that never ever list. And so there are things that are never in any of our solutions, like gluten, right? We are gluten-free, low sodium, low sugar. There are things that are good for you. This company is so very conscious, but they don't do it by sacrificing flavor. These meals are loaded with flavor, loaded with tons of spices, clean spices, right? And they're so good, and they're so good for you. We really enjoy them. And just to kind of give you the range of different things that you can have, I mean, we've got like a beef and broccoli stir fry. There's this sweet garlic chicken. We even have desserts like chocolate mud pie. And all of these meal solutions are clean, and they do not have any of those toxins that we talked about earlier. So if you are concerned about what you put on the table in front of your family, then these meal solutions are excellent for you. So let's check on our shrimp mixture and see what we've got going on. Oh yes, that is cooking up fast. Yum. Good. Now remember, with shrimp cooks quickly, so you do not want to overcook it. It only takes about 2 minutes or so for the shrimp to start to turn opaque and turn pink. When you get to that point, it's done. Turn it off. Okay. So we are just turned pink, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Now, I cannot have a lettuce wrap or any kind of taco or any kind of wrap or sandwich without a sauce. Now, like I always tell you in these videos, I am a huge sauce girl. And so we're going to make up this teppanyaki sauce. It is actually an Asian sauce that Epicure makes. And like all of their spices and all of their sauce mixes, again, it's clean. And so on the back, you'll see the recipe of how to actually make the sauce. Now, I'm going to whip up this sauce quickly, and we're going to put this over the top of our lettuce wraps. Now, here's my trusty bowl. I've got my little mini whisk that you can also find on my Epicure website. It is tiny, but don't get it twisted. It is very sturdy. It's perfect for little jobs like making up this sauce, or maybe your eggs in the morning. And so let's see what the recipe calls for. It says, for a half cup of sauce, you want to stir in 2 tablespoons of this mix, along with 1/3 cup of mayo, Or you can use a mayo substitute if you are dairy free or if you are, vegan. And it says 1 tablespoon of water, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil again. So I'm going to wash my trusty spoon and then we're going to come back and whip up this sauce. Okay, so let's make this teppanyaki sauce. It says 2 tablespoons. Don't you love that this Epicure spoon fits in all of their jars perfectly? You don't have to pour out, you can easily measure. So 2 tablespoons of this seasoning, along with 1/3 cup of mayo. And this is our better than mayo that you can also find on my Epicure site. And it is a better than mayo product. It is perfect for those who are dairy free. Now it also says 1 tablespoon of water, 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. And so I'm going to look for my trusty teaspoon here, and it is 1 teaspoon of sesame oil and 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar. Oh, that smells good. 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar. You can just always go back and check to make sure that your sauce comes out right. 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar, and then 1 tablespoon of water. Perfect. Okay, so now let's just whisk this up. And you'll see it start to come together and easy. You have a simple sauce. This teppanyaki sauce is perfect for any of your Asian dishes. It works well on wraps like this, but it also is a great sauce for the steaks that you pull off of the grill, any grilled shrimp that you might have if you're making hibachi at home. Anything that has that Asian twist, this teppanyaki sauce is going to be fantastic on top of. Oh, that smells so good. Perfect. Okay, let's plate up. Fastest lunch ever, right? I'm going to take my trusty lettuce leaves over to the pan and we're going to fill them, and then I'll come back and sauce them on camera. Now I'm only going to make 2 of them. I'm actually going to leave the rest of the shrimp mixture in the pan because I know Robert's going to want some when he gets home from work. And so what I'll do now is I'll take this sauce, and with my wooden tablespoon, I'm just going to drizzle some of the sauce over the top of this lettuce wrap. Just a little bit, not too much. Although you can be heavy-handed if you want to, because like I said, these products are low sodium and low sugar. And so you really can't overdo it, especially if you're using a quality mayonnaise. Perfect. So there you have it. These are the lettuce wraps, the crunchy lettuce wraps. You can use any kind of lettuce. I have used romaine here, but you can use a butter lettuce or a bib lettuce. You can even use some endive leaves. Like whatever it is that you choose is perfect, and it comes together within minutes. It is the perfect light, fast lunch for you. Listen, if you have enjoyed this recipe and you would like to make it at home for you and for your family, then please feel free to scroll down. As I said, if you are at Cook with Coach, the button is on the very bottom of the page. It says Order Meal Solutions. Now, if you are on YouTube, then I will make sure that I include the link in the description, along with all of the other links that you can use to either join my team if you would like to build your own Epicure business and get paid to cook, or to shop my website for whatever meal solutions you may want for you or for your family. Now, I've got to get back to the office because I have coaching calls this afternoon. So I'm going to enjoy this lunch. I hope that you try this recipe. Thank you so much for cooking with Coach. Please come back in just a few days for yet another meal solution for you and your family. Take good care. I'll see you soon. Bye.